Right. So welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to get into some really cool stuff, I think. I was reading up on the European Data Protection Supervisor,
EDPS.
the
Yeah.
EDPS, that's right, the acronym. But they're doing some really fascinating work on how like technology is changing the way we needed to think about data protection, our rights as people in this increasingly digital age.
Yeah, absolutely. And they publish these reports called the TechSonar series. And basically what they do is they try to anticipate emerging tech trends. But they look at it from a data protection angle, which I think is super important because, I mean, things are moving so fast, we got to stay ahead of the curve, right?
Totally. I mean, like, who would have thought even 5, 10 years ago that things like, I don't know, deepfakes would be as prevalent as they are now?
Right. And the EDPS, they have this whole methodology. They call it the Data Protection Technology Sonar methodology. Big mouthful, but basically it's like, you know how sonar works, like pinging out there to see what's on the horizon. So they've got reports for 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, 2023, 2023, 2024, and they're even working on 2025.
Wow. So they're really on top of it. They're already thinking about like years ahead.
Oh yeah, big time. And one of the things that really jumped out at me from their 2023, 2024 findings was this whole trend of deepfake detection technologies.
Okay, deep fakes. Let's talk about that for a second. So
Uh-huh.
for those listening who might be like, wait, what's a deep fake? Can you give us a quick definition?
Yeah, sure. Deepfake is basically when you manipulate or even completely generate audio, video, digital content using AI, artificial intelligence. And the goal is to make it look like or sound like something happened that actually didn't, or someone said something they never really said.
So like it's faking reality, but in a really, really convincing way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just like Photoshop anymore.
Right, right. Back in the day. So we're talking about like sophisticated AI, right?
Yeah, we're talking deep learning, actually. That's where the deep in deep fake comes from.
Ah, okay. And the EDPS report, they talk about a specific type of AI technology, generative adversarial networks or GANs.
Oh yeah, Jans, those are the heavy hitters in deepfake creation. Basically, you've got two neural networks, right? One's the generator and it's trying to make fake content. The other one's the discriminator, and its job is to figure out, okay, is this real or is this a fake? And they're constantly battling it out, getting better and better at their respective roles.
So like an AI arms race, kind of?
Pretty much, yeah. And the crazy thing is, it can produce some seriously realistic deepfakes. So it's no wonder the EDPS is concerned, right?
Absolutely. And their briefing paper, it goes beyond just like the
Yeah.
technical aspects, right? It really delves into the wider implications of deepfakes for like society as a whole.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, think about it. Deepfakes could be used to spread disinformation on a huge scale. Like, imagine fake news, but amplified, even more believable, more impactful. And that could mess with public opinion on really important issues. It could even have serious political consequences.
Right. I mean, we've already seen how misinformation can be a problem, and deepfakes just take that to a whole new level.
Totally. And it's not just like the news or politics. Deepfakes can be used for some really malicious stuff on a personal level, too.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
Well, the briefing paper mentions things like non-consensual intimate images, deep fakes of people in situations they never agreed to. Then there's the potential for hoaxes, like elaborate pranks that could cause real harm or even panic. And of course, financial fraud schemes, because if you can fake someone's identity convincingly enough.
Wow, that's pretty scary to think about.
Yeah, it is. And then there's the impersonation aspect, like face swapping technology. That's a big concern.
So like someone could pretend to be you on a video call or even in a still photo for ID verification.
Exactly. And that could allow them to access your online accounts, maybe even physical locations that use facial recognition. It's a serious vulnerability.
So okay, we've got this powerful technology that can create these incredibly deceptive deepfakes. That means researchers are working hard to figure out how to automatically detect them, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the flip side of the coin, right? There's this whole area of research focused on deepfake detection, trying to develop tools and techniques to spot these fakes.
It's like an arms race you were saying earlier.
It really is. As deepfakes get better, the detection methods have to keep up.
So what are some of the methods that the EDPS talks about in their briefing? Like how do these detectors actually work?
Well, some of the earlier approaches focused on like really subtle physiological cues that deepfake algorithms have a hard time replicating perfectly. For example, they looked at things like eyebrow movements. Yeah, like the way eyebrows move naturally. If it looks unnatural or inconsistent, it could be a sign of a deepfake. They also looked at eye blinking patterns, how our eyes move, those kinds of things.
Wow, that's really getting into the detail.
Oh, yeah, and there's also something called inconsistent corneal specular highlights.
Okay, now you're just using big words to impress me. What's that?
Haha, no, it's actually pretty simple. You know how you see that little white dot of reflected light in someone's eye?
Yeah, yeah.
So in a real video, those reflections should be consistent in both eyes, and throughout the video. But in a deepfake, they might be off, like in different positions or changing weirdly. That's a red flag.
So it's like looking for tiny inconsistencies that would betray the fake.
Exactly. And then there are other methods that focus on detecting like unique elements or imperfections that are left behind by the deepfake tools themselves.
Like digital fingerprints of the deepfake process.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They call these artifacts in the briefing paper.
So how do computers learn to spot those fingerprints?
They use these things called categorization algorithms, and they train them on like massive amounts of data, huge data sets of both real and fake audio and video. By analyzing all that data, the algorithms learn to recognize patterns and artifacts that are usually found in deepfakes but not in real content.
So they're basically training computers to be expert deepfake detectors.
Exactly. And they use all sorts of fancy machine learning techniques for this, like unsupervised clustering, which is where the algorithm tries to group similar data points together without knowing what's real or fake beforehand. And then there's supervised classification, where they label the data for the algorithm, telling it explicitly, okay, this is real, this is fake.
That's amazing. But the EDPS briefing also makes it clear that these deepfake detectors aren't perfect, right? They have limitations.
Oh, yeah, for sure. One big limitation is that most current detectors are trained on existing deepfake techniques. So if someone comes up with a brand new, super sophisticated way to make deepfakes, the detectors might not catch it. It's like trying to fight a new virus with an old vaccine.
That makes sense. The technology is always evolving. And what about the data used to train the detectors? The briefing mentioned that too.
Right, the quality of the data is super important. If the data sets are incomplete, like they don't include all the different variations of real and fake content, or if they have errors or noise in them, then the detector won't be as accurate. It's like garbage in, garbage out.
So it's a complex problem. We've got this growing threat of deepfakes, and the tools to detect them are still catching up, constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve. It's a real challenge to maintaining trust in digital information.
It definitely is. And I think the EDPS TechSonar report does a great job of highlighting this issue where technology and data protection are colliding. It's a reminder that as technology advances, we have to understand the risks and how to mitigate them. And for the listener, it's a reminder to be critical of what you see and hear online. Not everything is what it seems.
Absolutely. We have to be more vigilant than ever. And I think that leads to a bigger question. How do we, as individuals and as a society, prepare for a future where it's going to be harder and harder to distinguish between real and fake online? It's something we all need to be thinking about.
Yeah, I don't think there are any easy answers. It's a challenge that's going to be with us for a long time.
It definitely is. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay skeptical, stay informed, and stay safe out there in the digital world.